Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the advantages of remote work.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a hot topic these days.
For sure. So if you're listening, you're probably thinking about making the switch to remote work, or maybe you're already working remotely and you just want to kind of, see what's out there. What are the perks?
Yeah, totally.
So the first thing that really stood out to me was just like the flexibility of it all,
Yeah.
right? Like remote work is all about having control.
Yeah.
Control over your schedule, control over your work environment. It's like you finally get to be the boss of your own workday.
That's the dream, isn't it?
I know. Have you ever felt like totally chained to a 9 to 5 schedule, just wishing you could tweak things a bit to make life a little easier?
Oh, yeah. All the time, especially with family stuff and appointments and all that. Exactly.
It's like you're always juggling.
Always juggling.
Yeah. You know what's funny is this whole flexibility thing, it's not just about convenience. It's directly tied to something I think we're all craving these days, and that's better work-life balance.
Yeah, for sure. So it's not just about squeezing in a yoga class or, being home for a delivery.
Right.
It's like a much deeper shift.
Totally.
It's about feeling less like you're constantly juggling chainsaws.
Exactly.
And maybe you could actually make it to your kid's soccer game without having to call in sick.
That would be amazing.
Right.
And you know what else is amazing?
Right.
This whole work-life balance thing, it can actually save you money.
Now you're speaking my language. Everyone loves saving a few bucks. Tell me more. Well, think about it. No more commuting.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Right. So that's less gas. No more train tickets. Maybe you can even ditch that second car.
Oh man, that would be a dream.
I know.
That
Plus,
is-
you're probably spending less on work clothes,
Sure.
dry cleaning, all that stuff,
Yeah.
and those overpriced lunches near the office.
Oh my gosh, yes. Those lunches add up.
They do.
Big time.
And so now imagine you're an employer and you multiply those savings by every employee.
Yeah.
Suddenly they're seeing huge potential cuts in their overhead costs.
So they could downsize their office space.
Yeah.
Maybe even get rid of it entirely.
Exactly. And it's not just a small amount of savings either. I know. Imagine what companies could do with all that extra money.
Yeah, they could invest in new projects,
Yeah.
offer better benefits, maybe even, pass some of those savings along to their employees.
Right. It's a win-win for everyone.
So we've got flexibility, cost savings.
Mm-hmm.
Remote work can actually boost productivity.
Really?
I know. I was surprised too. I mean, wouldn't you get less done at home with all the distractions and the comfy couch and the fridge right there?
Right. You'd think it would be the opposite.
I know. What's the secret sauce? Are remote workers secretly superhumans?
Well, I don't know about superhumans,
Okay.
but I think there are a few things at play here.
Okay.
Think about it. Fewer interruptions from chatty coworkers.
Oh, that's a big one.
Right. No more distracting office noise, and you have the freedom to design your workday around when you are most productive.
That's true. Some people are morning people, some people are night owls.
Exactly.
You can kind of tap into that natural rhythm.
Exactly. And plus, no more soul-crushing commute, which means more energy for actual work.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Have you ever noticed how drained you feel after fighting traffic for an hour?
Every single day.
It's like all your energy's just gone.
Yeah, you get home, you're like, I'm ready for bed.
Exactly. It's like I'm starting to see how this whole productivity thing could actually work.
Yeah, it makes sense when you think about it.
So it's not about being lazy. It's about finding the environment that lets you do your best work.
Exactly. And for a lot of people, that environment is not a cubicle farm.
Yeah, no kidding.
And speaking of finding the best, remote work opens up hiring for companies.
Oh yeah, that's a really interesting point.
Right. It's like, imagine no more geographic limits.
Yeah,
You can literally hire the best person for the job regardless of where they live.
that's huge, especially when you think about diversity and inclusion in the workplace.
Absolutely.
It's like suddenly location is not a barrier. You can tap into a much wider pool of talent. Find people with unique skills and experiences you might never have encountered before.
Yeah, it really levels the playing field.
Okay, so put yourself in the hiring manager's shoes for a second.
Oh.
You're no longer limited to candidates within a 30-mile radius.
Right.
You could have someone amazing from across the country, even across the world, all contributing to your team.
It's like the whole planet becomes your talent pool.
Exactly. It's a win-win. Companies find the best talent, and talented individuals find amazing opportunities that they might not have had access to before.
I love that.
And, happy employees usually mean a happy company, right?
Makes sense?
Remote work often leads to higher job satisfaction.
Yeah, because you have more work-life balance, less stress. more autonomy.
Right, it's like all these perks are adding up to make people actually enjoy their jobs more.
Clearly, people are finding something they like about this way of working.
That's going to make any company happy.
Oh, yeah,
High employee satisfaction means less turnover,
definitely.
less time and money spent on constantly training new people.
Yeah, it's a recipe for a stable and productive workforce.
Totally. Remote work can actually be good for the planet.
What? Really?
I know. I was surprised too. How does working from home help the environment?
Well, think about all those cars that suddenly disappear from the roads during rush hour.
Oh, yeah.
Less commuting means less pollution, less carbon emissions.
Okay, that makes sense. But like, what kind of impact are we talking about here? Is this a tiny drop in the bucket or something more significant?
It's actually pretty significant.
I never would have guessed that working from home could have such a big impact on the environment.
It's crazy, right?
It's like an unintended consequence, but in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. It really highlights how our individual choices about where and how we work can have ripple effects on a much larger scale.
That's so true. So far, we've got flexibility, cost savings, productivity gains, happier employees, and even environmental benefits.
It's quite a list.
I know. Remote work, enabling better integration of work and personal life.
An integration.
Yeah, it's like not just balance, but actually weaving those two worlds together more seamlessly.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to hear more about this.
Yeah, so it's not just about keeping work and life separate. It's about finding ways for them to coexist more naturally.
Okay, I'm starting to get it, but can you give me an example?
Sure, so imagine being able to attend your child's school play in the middle of the day without having to take a whole day off work.
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing.
Right, or fitting in a doctor's appointment without throwing your whole schedule off track.
That would be so much less stressful.
I know. It's about those little moments where work and life intersect and how remote work can make those transitions smoother.
I love that.
You know, that's something I really struggle with. It always feels like I'm choosing between being a good employee and being a good parent.
Yeah, I feel that too.
Do you think this whole integration thing could actually make us feel less stressed overall?
I think so, yeah.
Like maybe we could be better at both instead of constantly feeling like we're failing at one or the other.
I think it's definitely possible when you feel more in control of your time and you're not constantly battling those competing demands. It just creates a sense of calm,
Yeah,
and it allows you to be more present in each area of your life.
right. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about finding a rhythm that works for you. And this whole idea of integration seems to tie back to the article's point about autonomy being a major benefit of remote work.
Right, employees have more control over their schedules, their work environment, and ultimately how they get the job done.
And there's actually a ton of research in psychology that shows that autonomy boosts both motivation and job satisfaction.
That makes sense.
When you feel trusted and empowered to make decisions about your work, it creates a sense of ownership and pride.
Yeah, you're not just following orders, you're a valued contributor.
But I imagine there needs to be a balance, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like too much autonomy without clear communication and goal setting could lead to chaos.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not about letting everyone do whatever they want.
Right.
Successful remote work arrangements require clear expectations, regular check-ins, and a strong foundation of trust between employers and employees.
It's about finding that sweet spot where people have the freedom to thrive, but also the guidance and support they need to succeed. So it's not just about being physically remote. It's about embracing a different way of working, a way that values flexibility, independence, and results over just clocking in and out at a certain time.
It's a whole new mindset.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that's a shift that has the potential to change the entire landscape of work as we know it.
Big changes are coming.
But like with any major change, there are challenges that come along with these benefits, and we're going to dive into those challenges next.
Sounds good. Can't wait to hear what they are.
So stick around.
Yeah, so it's true though. While remote work sounds like this, dream come true, it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right. Okay, so let's not sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
What are some of the downsides? What are the things that could potentially trip people up?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles I hear people talk about is this feeling of isolation.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
When you're not physically surrounded by your colleagues, it's easy to feel disconnected,
Yeah, you miss out on those like impromptu chats, the quick questions, even just the buzz of being around other people.
Exactly. And, humans are social creatures. We crave connection.
We do.
Even for introverts. I think working from home day after day could start to feel a bit lonely.
Yeah, totally. So how do you combat that? Is it all virtual happy hours and, awkward Zoom parties?
I mean, virtual events can definitely help,
Yeah.
but it goes beyond that. I think it's about being proactive with your communication, like
Okay.
schedule regular video calls with your team, even if it's just to catch up.
Yeah.
Use instant messaging for quick questions, casual conversations.
Just to stay connected.
Exactly. It's about creating those virtual water cooler moments
I like that.
and fostering a sense of community even when you're not physically together.
So you have to be more intentional about building those relationships when you're working remotely.
Right. You can't just rely on bumping into someone in the hallway or grabbing coffee together.
Exactly.
And that actually brings us to another potential pitfall, which is blurring the lines between work and personal life.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Right. When your home is your office, it can be tough to switch off.
Yeah, because work is always right there.
It is. It's like so tempting to answer emails at dinner or work late into the night because, hey, your office is just a few steps away.
It's a slippery slope.
It is. It really is.
So how do you set boundaries? How do you maintain some semblance of sanity?
I think the key is structure.
Oh, yeah.
Create structure and stick to it.
Like a schedule.
Yeah, set
Yeah.
specific work hours
Okay.
and treat them like you would in a traditional office. Close your laptop at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Put your phone on silent signal to yourself and your family. That work is done.
Yeah, like create that separation.
Exactly. And, if you can create a dedicated workspace,
Oh, yeah.
even if it's just a corner of your dining room table, having that physical separation between your work zone and your relaxation zone can make a huge difference.
It's like those mental and physical cues to signal when you're in work mode and when you're off the clock.
Exactly.
And I guess technology can be both a blessing and a curse here.
do
It keeps us connected, but it also makes it hard to truly disconnect.
It does. We have to be mindful of how and when we use technology. I think set boundaries, turn off notifications, and actually schedule time for digital detox.
Well, that's a good idea.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot where technology enhances your work life without taking over your personal life.
So true.
Mm.
Okay, so another concern I've heard about remote work is the lack of spontaneous collaboration.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that too.
Like in an office, you can just bounce ideas off someone or have an impromptu brainstorming session.
Right. Those are important.
How do you replicate that kind of creative energy when everyone's scattered?
Well, it definitely requires a more structured approach,
Okay.
but it's doable.
Okay.
You can schedule regular brainstorming sessions, even if they're virtual.
Yeah.
You can utilize online whiteboards, collaborative documents to share ideas and work on projects together in real time.
So you can still have that teamwork.
It's about recreating that sense of teamwork and creative flow, even when you're not physically in the same room.
I guess communication and planning become even more crucial in a remote setting.
Well, absolutely.
You can't just rely on those chance encounters or those casual conversations to get things done.
You have to be much more intentional about how you communicate and collaborate as a team.
Yeah, clear expectations,
Yeah.
regular check-ins, open communication channels are essential
Essential.
for remote teams to thrive.
Okay, so let's talk about career advancement.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Because I've heard some people worry that, being out of sight in a remote setting could mean being out of mind when it comes to promotions or opportunities for growth.
It's like if you're not physically in the office, will your contributions be overlooked?
It's a valid concern, and it's
Yeah.
something that both individuals and companies need to be mindful of.
So what can people do?
Well, for individuals, I think it's about being proactive.
Okay.
Make sure your work is visible,
Yeah.
communicate your accomplishments clearly, and actively participate in conversations about your career development.
So it's not just about doing the work. It's about making sure that people know you're doing the work.
Exactly, and that you're ambitious about your future,
Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself.
even if you're not physically present.
Right. And what about companies? What can they do to address this concern?
Well, for companies, I think it's about creating a culture of transparency and open communication,
Yeah.
where remote workers feel equally valued and supported.
Like you're part of the team.
Exactly. Make sure performance reviews and promotion decisions are based on merit and contributions, not just visibility or face time.
It's about creating a level playing field where everyone has an equal opportunity to grow and advance their careers regardless of where they're physically located.
And that requires a real shift in mindset.
Yeah.
Not just from individuals, but from companies as a whole.
So it's about embracing a new way of working
Exactly, one that values flexibility, autonomy, and results.
over traditional measures of presence and face time.
It's about building trust and empowering employees to manage their own work and contribute in their own unique ways.
It's fascinating how this whole conversation about remote work really forces us to rethink what work even means.
It really does.
It's not just about where you do it, it's about how you do it and how that work fits into the bigger picture of your life.
And you know what? I think this ties into this broader trend of work-life integration that we see happening across so many industries.
Oh yeah, for sure.
People are looking for more flexibility, more control over their schedules, and a greater sense of balance.
Between their professional and personal lives.
Exactly.
And I think technology is a huge driver of this shift.
Oh, absolutely.
The tools and platforms that allow us to work remotely are also the tools that are blurring the lines between our professional and personal lives.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's definitely creating new possibilities for how we work and live.
Absolutely.
It's like we're at this really interesting crossroads
Mhm.
where technology values and the nature of work are all kind of converging
Yeah,
to create this new paradigm. It's exciting,
it is.
but it's also a little bit daunting.
It is.
Like, how do we navigate this new world?
I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer, but
Yeah.
I think the key is to stay curious,
Okay.
stay open-minded, and be willing to experiment.
Be afraid to try new things.
Exactly. Adapt your approach and find what works best for you and your unique circumstances.
That's great advice. I love that.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
You know, from the potential benefits and challenges of remote work to strategies for making it work effectively. But there's one more piece of the puzzle I think is really important to address.
Okay.
The practical side of things.
Okay. Yeah, we've talked a lot about the why of remote work,
Right.
but what about the how?
Exactly. What are the specific tools and strategies that people can use to make this whole remote work thing actually work?
Okay, so let's dive into that next.
Mhm.
We'll explore the tech tools, the productivity hacks, and the mindset shifts that can help you thrive in a remote work setting.
Awesome. Let's get practical.
Stay tuned. All right, so we're back and we've talked about all the amazing advantages of remote work, but also some of the potential downsides and challenges.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
The how. Like, how do you actually make remote work work?
Mm.
What are the tools, the strategies that can help people really thrive in this new world of working from anywhere?
Well, I think the first thing we have to talk about is the tech.
Right.
Because, let's face it, remote work wouldn't even be possible without the right tools. But the good news is there are tons of amazing options out there to help you stay connected, productive, and maybe even, you know, a little bit sane.
Okay, so what are the must-haves? Like, if I'm ditching the office tomorrow and setting up shop at my kitchen table, what tech should I absolutely invest in?
Okay, well, first things first, you need reliable video conferencing software.
Okay.
This is your virtual face-to-face time, so you want something that's easy to use and provides a clear connection.
Yeah, for sure.
Zoom and Microsoft Teams are popular choices.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of others out there. The key is to find what works best for you and your team.
So basically, I need a way to see my coworkers without actually having to see them.
Pretty much,
Okay, fair enough.
yeah.
But what about those times when a full-blown video call is overkill? Like,
Yeah.
for quick questions or just to chat with colleagues?
Right, well, that's where instant messaging platforms come in.
Okay.
Think Slack, Google Chat, or even just a good old-fashioned group text.
Yeah.
These tools are great for those quick check-ins, informal conversations, just keeping the team spirit alive even when you're not physically together.
It's like having a virtual water cooler.
Exactly,
I like that.
where you can catch up and share a few laughs.
Okay, so I'm connected, I'm chatting, but how do I actually get things done? I mean, in an office, you've got your to-do list, your calendar, maybe a whiteboard covered in sticky notes.
Right.
How do you stay organized and on top of your workload when you're working remotely?
Well, that's where project management tools become your best friend.
Okay, but what about all those files, documents, presentations? In an office, it's easy to just walk over to someone's desk and hand them a folder.
Right.
How does that work when you're miles apart?
Fear not, the cloud has got you covered.
The cloud.
Cloud storage services like Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive let you store all your files online and access them from anywhere.
Okay.
You can share documents with colleagues, collaborate on edits, and always make sure everyone is working on the latest version.
So it's like having a giant virtual filing cabinet.
Exactly. That's accessible to everyone on your team.
It's amazing how technology has really made all of this possible. Like, we've created this whole virtual workspace that can exist anywhere with an internet connection.
It's pretty incredible.
But I have to admit, it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah, I can see that.
Where do you even begin?
Well, the good news is you don't have to adopt every tool under the sun.
Okay.
Start by identifying your biggest pain points.
Okay.
What are the things that make you feel frustrated or inefficient when you're working remotely?
Yeah.
Then look for tools that specifically address those challenges.
Okay.
And remember, it's not about finding the perfect tool. It's about finding what works best for you and your unique workflow.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the tech. It's about using it strategically and intentionally.
Exactly.
But what about the human side of things? Like, what are some strategies or mindset shifts that can help people really thrive in a remote work setting?
Well, one of the most important things is to establish clear boundaries between work and personal life.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And I know this can be tough when your office is also your living room,
For sure.
but it's crucial for your sanity and your productivity.
Yeah, you got to set some boundaries.
Yeah, set specific work hours. Create a dedicated workspace and communicate your availability to your colleagues and your family members.
So when you're on, you're on.
Exactly. Be fully present and focused on work.
But when you're off, you're off.
Exactly. Disconnect completely and give yourself permission to relax and recharge.
You know, that's something I really struggle with. I'm constantly checking emails and responding to messages, even when I'm supposed to be spending time with my family.
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
It's like I can't switch off that work brain. Any tips for breaking that habit?
Well, it takes practice, but it's doable.
Okay.
Try creating a ritual to mark the end of your workday.
A ritual.
Yeah, maybe you close your laptop, turn off your phone, and go for a walk to clear your head.
Okay.
Or maybe you have a cup of tea and chat with your partner about your day.
Just something to signal that work is over.
Exactly. The key is to find something that helps you mentally shift gears from work mode to relaxation mode.
I like that a little ritual to signal that work is done and it's time to focus on other things.
It can make a big difference.
I'm going to try that. But, you know, realistically, I'm not going to be able to completely disconnect from work all the time.
Right.
There will be times when I need to check emails or respond to messages outside of work hours. So how do you find that balance between staying connected and setting boundaries?
I think it's about being intentional and setting realistic expectations.
Okay.
So if you need to check emails periodically throughout the evening, set aside specific times to do so,
Okay.
rather than letting them interrupt your dinner or your family time.
Yeah, don't let those notifications rule your life.
Exactly, and let your colleagues know when you'll be available and when you won't.
Yeah, clear communication is key.
The key is to be proactive and communicate clearly so that everyone is on the same page.
That makes sense. So it's about taking control of your time and your technology rather than letting them control you.
Right. But speaking of control, I'm curious about this idea of autonomy that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Like, how do you embrace that autonomy in a remote work setting without feeling like you're completely adrift?
Well, I think it's about finding that sweet spot between independence and accountability.
Okay.
You have the freedom to manage your own time and workflow, but you also need to be responsible for delivering results.
Set clear goals.
Yes, set clear goals, communicate your progress regularly, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Don't be afraid to reach out.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and taking ownership of your work while also recognizing that you're part of a team.
So it's not about going rogue.
Right.
It's about finding a way to work independently while still being a valuable contributor to the team.
Exactly. And remember, remote work is a journey, not a destination.
Ooh, I like that.
It's a constant process of learning, adapting, and finding what works best for you.
There will be bumps along the way, but that's okay. The key is to stay curious, stay open to new ideas, and don't be afraid to experiment.
That's great advice. I think it's easy to get caught up in the hype and think that remote work is this magical solution to all our work-life woes.
Right, everyone's situation is different.
But the reality is it's a different way of working, and it requires a different set of skills and strategies to really succeed.
Absolutely. It's not for everyone, and it's not always easy. But for those who thrive in a self-directed environment and value flexibility and autonomy,
It can be amazing.
it can be truly empowering and fulfilling.
Well, this has been such an enlightening conversation.
It has.
We've gone from the big picture of, what makes remote work so appealing to the practicalities of how to actually make it work for you.
Yeah, and as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. The future of work is evolving, and remote work is a big part of that evolution.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Whether you're a seasoned remote worker or just starting to explore the possibilities, remember that you have the power to shape your own work experience.
So embrace the flexibility, prioritize your well-being, and never stop learning and growing.
And most importantly, enjoy the journey.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the advantages of remote work. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Until next time, happy working wherever that may be.